We start with mission accomplished. Mark Mazzetti is a reporter for the New York Times, and Paul Rieckhoff is an Iraq war veteran and the founder and executive director, I should say, of Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America. Gentlemen, thank you both for calling. I want to ask, I guess, a tough question, which has been circulating with us, with our producers and everyone here at Hardball, to Mark Mazzetti. Are you able to say now authoritatively, Mark, as a reporter for the Times, we're going to deadline tonight, whether torture was necessary to catching Obama?
Well, I mean, all the reporting that we've done so far indicates that the information that led to the raid on Sunday night did come from detainees, but it didn't come from what the CIA called enhanced interrogation that took place in the few years after September 11th. There were a couple of the high-value detainees who had been waterboarded, of course. However, it doesn't appear that they gave up information that led to the raid during the course of this harsh interrogation. So it doesn't appear to be a really strong link at this point.
So as far as you can report to us tonight, nobody broke under torture, under waterboarding, and gave up the name of the courier?
No, it's interesting. The name
or
of the
even
courier,
the code name
who
of
the
the
CIA
courier
heard about before they got Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and others, the name was brought to KSM and another man, Abu Faraj al-Libi, and in fact they denied ever knowing him, even after the harsh interrogation. And that actually raised suspicions at the CIA that maybe this guy really was important, because these guys were denying knowing him.
Well, that's interesting. Let me go to Paul Rieckhoff. What do you know? What have you been able to pick up about the role the torture played, and we mean waterboarding generally in this case, in getting the necessary information?
I honestly have no idea, Chris. I think Mark's on the inside of that. I think, you know, the scuttle within our community right now, the military community, is really about pride and about almost awe with what the Navy SEALs can do, especially Dev Group and SEAL Team 6. I mean, these
okay,
are
well, let's go with that,
incredible.
Paul. I respect your service and your knowledge. Tell me about what you can give us in terms of the kind of attack that was necessary, the kind of training and planning and execution that you found, that you do find to be excellent, or whatever, educational in this case. What did you learn from this thing?
Well, this is what these guys do every day. I mean, this is a rare instance where we're actually finding out what they do. Obviously, this is at a higher level, but they train their entire lives for a moment like this. And I think it's important to recognize we'll never know their names. I mean, these guys aren't going to get a parade through New York City. They're not going to get a ticker tape welcome. They're going to go back to doing their job just like they have been doing every day since 9/11. So they are an incredibly elite unit that really is like nothing else in the world. And over the next couple of days, you know, the American population, the civilian population, is going to really find out how incredibly impressive and expert they are.
Mark, let me go back, and I wish I could say that as well as you did and mean it with the background you've got, Paul. Let me ask you, Mark, about this question of the role we know that was played by bin Laden in his own demise. Do we know if he used a human shield? Did he grab a woman and jump behind her, anything like that? That was originally what we were getting from Brennan.
Yeah, that doesn't appear to have been the case. I mean, we think there was at least two women in the room with bin Laden on the third floor of the compound when the raid happened, and that one of the women may have run toward one of the Navy SEALs and was then shot in the leg. But there's no one I've talked to privately has said that bin Laden actually used a human shield, although one of the women did die being used as a human shield, but it wasn't by bin Laden.
Downstairs. Let me ask you about whether he resisted and how he might have without a firearm. Do you know what the means of resistance was?
No, we're still trying to sort of learn more about that. I mean, that has been from when we first talked to officials on Sunday night, they said that he had resisted the assault, but we didn't really get much more detail than that. And it did come out today, in fact, that he was never armed, so we're trying to find out how he may have resisted.
Do we know if he knew that the service people, our special forces, were working their way up to his top floor? Do we know if he was aware that he was about to get caught?
Well, presumably he was a highly intelligent person, and one would have assumed that with an intense firefight going on, and it's been confirmed that he was killed toward the end of the firefight. So this is a half hour of intense fighting. He probably would have presumed that that they ultimately would have gotten to the room where he was, unless he would have thought that all of the invaders would have been killed before they got to him.
Yeah, that would be certainly optimistic thinking. Here's White House Press Secretary Jay Carney on what happened when the Navy SEALs entered bin Laden's compound.
There was concern that bin Laden would oppose the capture operation, and indeed he did resist. In the room with bin Laden, bin Laden's wife, rushed the U.S. assaulter and was shot in the leg but not killed. Bin Laden was then shot and killed. He was not armed.
If you didn't have his hand on a gun, how was he resisting?
Yeah, the information I have to you, first of all, I think resistance does not require a firearm. But
did he have any weapon?
He was not armed, is what I understand to be true.
Paul Rykov, I respect your service. What are you hearing about this assault? What are your fellow service people telling you about? Well, they must be very proud of these fellas over there, what they did.
Overwhelmingly proud and impressed. And the military community has a tremendous reverence for everybody in JSOC, everybody in the Special Operations community. I mean, think about the tactical proficiency and skill it would require to enter that room, shoot a woman in the leg, and then take out Bin Laden with 2 shots while the president's watching. The whole world, will later find out what happened. I mean, that's an incredible amount of discipline, dedication, a whole life built toward a moment like that, and to do it with such professionalism, and that's why we call them the silent professionals, the quiet professionals. They're going to do this job, and they're probably off on another mission or being debriefed already. Wow. Folks are already back at work in Afghanistan. I think it's a testament to the larger military. I mean, think about the folks who are back on patrol in Afghanistan or back on patrol in Iraq. This is a real win for our military, and it's been a rough couple of years, and our community really needed it. So it's a big boost to the morale of everyone and our families back home.
That raises the point, Mark, in reporting. I know reporters always try to get the information, but people on the inside in a secret mission like this have to keep that information. This ability on the part of the service people involved here, anybody that was moving paper with regard to the orders and all the kind of provisioning of these guys and all that effort, how do they keep all that secret going all the way over to Islamabad, to the suburbs there, all that information in and out of the political service, political people and the service people?
Yeah, I mean, it is amazing secret that has been kept for months and months, as we reported, today, dating back from last July when they first laid eyes on this courier and then ultimately tracked into this compound. They started watching the compound 24 hours a day for months. And then we know that the operation's been in the works for at least a month. And for this never to leak out, it's obviously those that knew about it were pretty good about keeping a secret. But, I mean, as secrets go, this was about the most highly classified operation perhaps in American history.
I keep thinking on my side, I was at the White House Correspondents' Dinner Saturday night, and there I am buzzing around saying hello to my old pals, Jack Lew, the head of the budget, and Tom Donilon, National Security Advisor now, and, of course, Bill Daley, the Chief of Staff, just talking social stuff and general politics. And all the time now, right, Mark? These guys probably knew all of this because they were in this sit room. They were in that inner circle, these guys, right?
That's right. It's a poker face. And there's hundreds and hundreds of journalists in the room. And I guess everyone was lousy about extracting any information.
Well, we weren't very good spooks, were we? Anyway, let's take a look at the New York Times. You're reporting today on intelligence officials and how they found Bin Laden. Quote, prisoners in American custody told stories of a trusted courier. The National Security Agency began intercepting telephone calls and email messages between the man's family and anyone inside Pakistan. From there, they got his full name last July. Pakistan agents working for the CIA spotted him driving his vehicle near Peshawar when, after weeks of surveillance, he drove to the sprawling compound in Abbottabad. American intelligence operatives felt they were onto something big, perhaps even Bin Laden himself. And back to you, Mark, the role of Pakistan. The fact that the Director of Intelligence, Leon Panetta, has openly now said in an interview, I believe for 60 Minutes, it's out there, but actually for Time Magazine, it's already out there, said that Pakistan was not trustworthy as an ally. Had we told them that, we would have had problems with them telling the targets, ratting out Bin Laden. I mean, actually warning him.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this for years, this very deeply troubled relationship between the United States and Pakistan and the sort of dysfunctional relationship the CIA has with its counterpart in Pakistan, the ISI. There had been years of frustration where the United States at times had given intelligence to the Pakistanis, and then there were suspicions that they then tipped off al-Qaeda or the Taliban or others. Things are bad right now in terms of the relationship, and American officials publicly, as you just said, are being very blunt about all of this. Now, it should be said, the Pakistani officials have vehemently denied that anyone in the government had any knowledge of Bin Laden's whereabouts all these many years.
Well, they would have had it, Paul, you can get in here. They would have had the intelligence if we gave it to them. And that's the problem. If they didn't know, and here's the question. We now look at Pakistan the way Michael Corleone looked at Fredo, his brother, not to be trusted.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust him. I think it makes sense to me. I mean, intelligence has got to be held very close and shared only with the people that need to know. And in that part of the world, you've got to be really careful with the corruption and the rumor mill that happens out there. That would compromise a mission quickly. So, it makes sense to me. I've been on operations where you keep information very close on a need-to-know basis, and I don't blame them.
Okay, it's great having you. Thank you for your service always, Paul. Thanks for coming, Paul Rykoff, and thank you, Mark Mazzetti.